presentation and for partnering with Vision and Mission. And we did speak about partnering earlier, and the next presenter is an extremely important partner for Vision and Mission. We work well together, I think, and we look forward to continuing that journey, and for his ministry support and his personal support. And I now invite the Honourable Fitzgerald Hinds, Minister of National Security, to present the feature address. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Master of Ceremonies, Madam June Alexis Matthew, Director of the Board of Vision and Mission, for your very kind introduction. Let me recognize my parliamentary and ministerial cabinet colleague, Madam Donna Cox, Senator the Honourable Donna Cox, Minister of Social Development and Family Services. In his absence, my parliamentary and cabinet colleague as well, the Minister of Youth Development and National Service, the Honourable Foster Cummins, represented here by Mr. Anthony Garcia, former Minister, doing yeoman service for the youth of Trinidad and Tobago in a standalone ministry as established by this government in 2020. Charge d'Affaires of the Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands in Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Harry Putka, Commissioner of Prisons, who just addressed us, passionate, hardworking, visionary and focused Mr. Deo Prasad Ramuta. Let me recognize as well Madam Bidesi Maraj, Deputy Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of National Security, Deputy Commissioner of Prisons, Programs and Industry, Mr. Carlos Caraspi, and other executive members of the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service, all of the commissioned officers of the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service, and every single member of the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service, particularly those who are focused on corrections, as most of you in this house here are today. Chairman of the Board of Vision and Mission, Mr. Fitzroy Fredericks, former Assistant Commissioner of Police. Happy to know you're still in the atmosphere, practicing as an attorney and contributing in the way you have, sir. Thank you very much. And of course, Madam Giselle Chance, CEO of Vision and Mission. Specially invited guests, inmates, former inmates, participants in the Vision and Mission programs, members of the media, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Let me assure you that I do have copious notes here in keeping with an expectation of a feature address. However, I am satisfied that I have heard today and many days past, in the past, about the history, about the work, about the powerful contributions of Vision and Mission. I am particularly familiar with the new 2002 entrenched philosophy for the penal system that drives and underpins all of the programs and all of the things that we do, that would have allowed an organization like Vision and Mission to be birthed within it, to be nurtured, and to continue to interface with the prison establishment in the way that it has. And not only am I familiar with those things, But I'm satisfied in my mind that every one of you present, particularly those of you who have benefited, are benefiting, and even expect to benefit upon your release, and in preparation for your release from the work of Vision and Mission in collaboration with the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service. We have heard enough today, and it's never enough, but we have heard sufficient to tell us, to teach us that these preparation for release programs, and particularly this 2023 version of it, continue to be of great value and great significance to you, inmates. For those of you who are still beyond a preparation for release program, it provides you with inspiration. It provides you with the knowledge and the confidence that there is an element of the services on offer to you, and there are many that you can access in shaping your life and in shaping your path as you venture outside of the walls of this institution. The preparation for release program, which forms part of a small part of the prison's overall education program, is primarily offered and delivered to convicted inmates who have some 18 to 24 months remaining in your sentence. The 9-month program, as it is shaped to be, is facilitated at 5 stations: the Carrera Convict Prison, Port of Spain Prison, Women's Prison, Golden Grove Prison, and the Maximum Security Prison. For me, as Minister of National Security, this is particularly great news, because I am informed that approximately 8,937 inmates have benefited from programs along these lines, preparation for release, since its inception in 2005. And as you would have already understood, the program is designed to provide cognitive, behavioral, and restructuring opportunities to improve offenders' transition from prison to communities. The result of this must, as has been adumbrated by Madam Chance and the Prison Commissioner, lead inexorably to improved public safety and the reduction of reoffending by participating inmates. This is very important to me as Minister of National Security, who by virtue of my constitutional and my citizenship and my manly responsibility as a proud citizen of Trinidad and Tobago is to do all that I can, support all that I must, encourage all that I can to improving the safety and the security of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, man, woman, and child, and of course those who visit our shores, either for work like His Excellency, or to do business, or even here on a few days vacation. So, when on Carnival Friday night into Saturday morning, you would hear, you would read, you would learn that a visitor to these shores was injured in a fracas on Arouca Avenue, where guns were involved, that is of serious concern to me, to all of us. And if this program is intended to minimize, to curtail, and even to obliterate that kind of behavior, because one of the purposes of a program like this is to affect behaviors. Recently, Garth Sinclair, a former inmate, reformed, rehabilitated, and proudly and strongly so, making a serious contribution to this kind of work and overall in Trinidad and Tobago, interviewed a young resident, Romel Lizama, who came to national attention not only because of his boxing prowess, not only because of his good and outstanding and exemplary responses to the programs offered to him where he is housed, but most of all found himself making history as the first of the many talented persons who these programs develop and generate in here. And you've heard some elements of it today when they urged us to lift our heads and hold them up high because we know we will win the prize. By Everton Blender, they did it almost better than Everton Blender, and let us applaud them once again, brothers and sisters. Great job, great job. Romel Lizama made his way to the National Calypso semi-finals and came to national fame. His song, Walls of Restoration. And the more I heard him, the more I heard his two songs, the more I discussed his circumstance with the prison commissioner and his other officers who have been working closely with Romel Lizama, the more encouraged I am, Madam Chance, at programs such as these. And therefore, I give you the commitment again, because we have done that before. But I want those listening, those looking on, to know that these are no light on small words. The government of Trinidad and Tobago, recognizing what you, Vision on Mission, represents, your history, what you have done, what you have accomplished, some of which you revealed here today. You didn't say today that for all your clients, all those who have received some form of intervention through you, Vision on Mission, there is a 4.5% recidivism. In other words, only 4.5% of those who had exposure to your great work is known to have reoffended. That's an impeccable record. Especially when you consider the complexity of the human being. I watched the panelists here this evening. I listened to the musicians. I look on the inmates. I think of Wayne Chance, Gad Sinclair. I think of all of us. And I understand full well how complex a human being is. The fights we have to fight with ourselves, to hold ourselves at bay when we are provoked, when we feel threatened, when we feel hopeless, when we feel weak enough to think that we have to use alcohol, marijuana, cocaine, and other drugs to be strong, to be loved, to be respected. Some people feel they have to have big cars and big house and nice clothes to feel or to be respected, to be loved, to be wanted. Human beings are very complex, as you all know. Relationships are very difficult. All kinds of relationships, very difficult. So when you consider the complexity of the human being, the frailty of the human being, and yet his or her strength, all wrapped up in God's creation of the human being, his highest creation, you understand what this thing is all about. So, I pledge that we will continue, be continuing, meaning present, continuous, to provide support to Vision and Mission as we have been doing for many years. To enable you to continue to carry out this work, which we consider to be, generally speaking, the responsibility of the state. In some spaces, persons who are deported to their countries, they are assisted, supported, and managed by the state. We saw your work. We value it. We recognize the professionalism with which you distribute that or you deliver that. And the government took the position, rather than establish outside of the prison a state entity to do this work, we would leave it up to you as an NGO, and you are doing commendably and remarkably well. I was quite pleased to hear that Professor Clement M.P is with us today, and I particularly welcome Professor. Professor, at a very personal level, is engaged with youth through music, steel band, shajando if I'm not mistaken, or bird song, same steel pan. But Renegades is in a different league. I have to remind him about that. Anyway, Professor is also, by virtue of his office as chairman of MIC, involved in youth education in a very serious way. And when you are going to create a bridge, a partnership with Professor M.P, representing the institutions that he does, then I know that this work will only be enhanced by it. Commissioner of Prisons, as I wind to my close, I want to have you know that from the birth of this new philosophy to the penal system, that is to say restorative justice as opposed to retributive justice, in 2002, the governments of Trinidad and Tobago, particularly the one that I am proudly a part of, have remained steadfast in our support to the prison service in this regard. We consider it to be a matter of simple common sense. The logic, the objectives, the purposes are moot really. There's no argument about them. And we will continue to lend strong support. I too will want to close my brief presentation to you today to say to those of you who are yet inmates of this institution and those of you who are already involved in this pre-release preparation, to be sincere about it. I want to stress the word sincere, because Madam Chance hit the right note when she spoke, when she said that this thing was born out of a spiritual vibration. And a lot of people will want to downplay that. In some countries, they would not even mention the word God, or Allah, or Mother Lakshmi. But in this country, our constitution recognizes the supremacy of God. And many of us, including me at an individual level, recognize and accept that we are precious little without the greatness and the mercy of God. And this program, and programs like the many that you are exposed to inside of this system, all designed to allow you different pathways and away from the ones that you fell prey to. They require commitment, they require determination, they require sincerity. It wouldn't work without that. Don't fool yourself. So all I can do in closing is to urge you not to take this lightly and play with it. You're playing with your God really. Take it seriously. Be sincere, as I have said about it. And once you make one step towards God, He makes 8 steps towards you. Is that true, brother? Thank you all very much. Continue to go and walk strong in the faith. Continue to submit to these programs, and the best is yet to be. Thank you all very much.